First and foremost, giving all honor and praise to the Holy One of creation, the heavens and the earth. We thank Him for all the great men and women that came before us, all our ancestors, whatever form of fashion they may be found. We also thank Him for our prophets, from Abraham all the way down to Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, and for our modern day leaders, Ben Ami HaMashiach, Prince Isiel Nasi Shaliach, all the saints and leaders of the kingdom of Yah in Israel, Dimona, in the Dimona, Israel. Also given to the living legends, the Marcus Garveys, the Sojourner Truths, the Denmark Vessies, the Nat Turners, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his student and greatest example, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and all the brothers of Nation Islam, all our Pan-African brothers, all the people across the world who seek truth, justice, and peace. I thank you, and I greet those who are viewing in the words of peace. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back to Reality Check TV, and this is our 4th installment episode. That wasn't really going to be long, but I just really wanted to talk about a couple of things that was going on, and just felt it was real pertinent to just cover. And the thing, you know, I usually take an article out the news, break it down, but really give a thorough analysis on it, historical background, references, and what the overall agenda and goal is from that article, and how it affects us geopolitically, spiritually, physically, mentally, and socially, not just here in America, across this planet. But today, I want to talk about really the reality coming out of this Trump election, because of what it is. It wasn't a presidential election, it was a Trump election. Because when we covered last week, and you know, other conversations that you might have heard me if you come into my class, you understand that this was really thoroughly put into place, and this didn't just happen on a whims. This was systematically put in place. This was thoroughly thought out, and it was for a particular reason. And some of those reasons we discussed, but a lot of them are forthcoming, and we're going to see how this thing plays out. But one of the things I want to talk about today is this myth that we can coincide with America. This myth that we as a people can really integrate into society and somewhat make it a better reality for ourselves. That we have the ability to make America this ideal place that represents peace, equality, justice, and freedom for all its citizens. And I think that's just totally delusional, because I think a lot of times we confuse America, the geographical location, or what it's called now, versus America, the institution, America, the system, America, the government, America, the society, and they are totally two distinctive different things. And the reason I say that is because even though, yes, black people were the first people here in America, yes, we built this country infrastructurally, scientifically, ideologically, in all aspects. We're the founding fathers of this country, but the reality is that the system which was created from this America, that was formed into America, that came out of the minds of the men who helped the European establish this sovereign nation, was one that was not meant for the success and the elevation of all peoples who inhabit this land. That's just the reality. It was created for a specific demographic of people. And the Constitution, what a lot of people want to hold valid and just, and as an example for their freedom, or example of their rights, was created not to protect everybody. It was created to protect a select few. And the reality it is that over time, as America grew in this population and its different demographics, and as it grew as a nation that had to understand diplomacy more, it had to understand a more subtle, not just racism, but a more subtle ways and institutions to subjugate a people, it had to change its outer lands, so that it could be more receptive to people who come seeking a better reality. So you have a lot of immigrants coming from other worn, torn places on this planet, coming to America to seek refuge. But the reality is that the same mind that created America and this degradation is the same mind that instituted the chaos in the other countries that allowed those citizens or those people from those countries to flee into America. So that's what we have to look at. And I don't want to get religious, but it's a spiritual thing that we're facing that supersedes color, that supersedes religion, supersedes nationality. It's a whole nother understanding, a diabolical, sinister, and insidious force on this planet that really wants to destroy the fabric of life and how it really should be applied from the men and women of this planet on this planet. But going back to America, because I don't want to get too deep into it, because we could have a conversation 3-4 hours about that. But if you want to see some ideas on that, you can check some other videos on reality TV, some of the classes that I taught, that somewhat go into that, and there's more forthcoming. It's really going to break this down. But I want to talk about this reality that America can really, really be a place that we can create a utopia. And the reality is it never will happen. The thing is that you can't make America something that is not. And the thing is, if you even want to make it in this geographical location of America, we know it's North America, you have to change the whole premise on how the governments run, the name, the culture, everything. Otherwise, the essence of what America was created, that racist, insidious, dominating force that America is, will always creep back into the psyches of the men and women who inhabit this land. Because the words and the names and the language that we speak has a certain type of spirit that comes with it. And because America has been associated with the spirit of evil and hate for so long, that's all it can ever be. So something new has to come into the forefront. But I want to talk about the hypocrisy of America and this Constitution and the reality that we try to live in and try to find some type of justice. And one of the things that we always talk about is that this movement to bear arms, the Second Amendment right, that we got to start understanding our gun rights. And we have to understand the laws to more effectively benefit us. But the thing is that you have to understand you don't control the fabric or the governing fabric of America, which enforces these so-called laws. And since you don't control that, you can't really actively and proactively change the nature of the laws. It's not just the words of the laws that give it the power, it's the nature and the essence of which the laws were created. So when you're talking about the Second Amendment, when you in regards to us as black people and other demographics, but especially us as black people, they weren't created for you. We have to go back to understand that the reason why we'll never get justice in America, especially under the Constitution of America, any of these American laws, any of these 3 different branches of government, is because it was not created for you. When those were established, besides the few black men who had sold out their brothers and sisters to be a part of the American government to help them create and establish the blueprint for America, you were still a slave. You weren't considered human. You weren't considered an actual person. You were considered merchandise. You were considered chattel. And you were considered form of currency for them. A means to an end. A means to dominate not just the region and country that they established as North America, but ultimately the whole world. You were a vehicle that was used for them to control this planet. And they never see you as nothing else than that. And so you had 2 types of white people, especially at that time, and you still have it to this day. You have those who are in power and set the rules and set the regulations. Then you have the other people who have some type of seniority because they are white, because they influence the mentalities of the white men, the rural white men, and the urban white men. It's not just in rural areas, but all across this country and ultimately all across this world, is that because you have a lighter complexion, you are better than the darker skinned people on this planet. And that white supremacy mindset has allowed them to do some of the most atrocious acts to humanity ever on this planet in the most recent history of at least 6,000 years. And that was put in place. And that's why Trump was able to win, because he brought that type of sentiment back to the forefront of the American mind and American populace. For blacks and for whites. And anybody who feel that they can benefit by identifying with the Anglo-Saxon whites. That because you have a lighter complexion, you are better off. You have seniority, and those who have darker complexion, like us, we don't have no rights. So, going to the Second Amendment, I'm going to be quick tonight, but it's some things I just want to get out there and to give us just another perspective on how to look at things. So I want to go to, we're going to put the Commodores on pause for a minute, but to his YouTube page, and our brother over there at the Young Turks, he did a thing about the reality of the Second Amendment. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. And I'm going to give a little commentary in between.
In shooting and killing Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old with a toy gun. Now that's because Tim McGinty, the prosecutor, threw the case and bragged about throwing the case. He told the grand jury, which is unprecedented, that they should not indict. The whole point of a prosecutor going in front of a grand jury is to get an indictment. He presented witnesses not on behalf of the victim, but on behalf of the defendants. Unheard of. I literally never heard of it until...
Well, I got to stop him there. It's not unheard of. This is a system of white supremacy. This is a system of dominance over the colored people of this planet. Simple and plain. The prosecutor works in conjunction with the police officers. The prosecutors work in conjunction with the court systems. With the total system of white supremacy, not just the court system as far as the judges, but I mean the court systems which help in jail and imprison millions and millions of our brothers and sisters and never give them a fair chance to plead their case, to bring facts to the forefront so that they can eradicate the charges that have been, most cases, unjustly put on them. And so they also can flip that to play a narrative amongst the people that allows them to get their people off in public lynchings like they do in so many instances across this country. Now he's about to cite the example of the 12-year-old Tamir Rice out there in Ohio, which was a literal lynching. This was the modern day example of what happened to our young brother, Emmett Till. And see, we can't look at these things like we've been so desensitized that we get a little pissed at the moment and do a little protest. But when it comes to reality of us really making a change, you don't have the discipline, the patience, the fortitude to stay course and really see change all the way through. Because you worried about being accepted. You worried about what's going on TV. What's going on social media. What's the next thing to talk about? Rather stand on plan, stand on course, stand on objective, and seeing something all the way through. So not only is our young son killed and so many others like him, but those who killed them never get brought to justice in this system. So we got to leave it in the hands of God Almighty. But if you create in the image and likeness of God, you are God. So you have the responsibility and the obligation to bring justice to this planet. But what are you doing? Let's go back.
Corrupt prosecutors in this country decided that no matter what cops do and no matter who they murder, they were going to protect them at all costs because they figured that would help their political careers. So we've seen it all across the country now, and McGinty's the latest one to do it. But there is an extra twist to this story. Ohio is an open carry state. What does that mean? Well, let's go to Charles Pierce in Esquire. He explains Ohio is an open carry state, so even if the cops assumed Rice was 18, and they also assumed his gun was real, they had no cause even to stop him, let alone open fire. The police officers, prosecutor...
Let's stop right there. Now, you had no right to prosecute him. You had no right to stop him because Ohio is an open carry state. But it goes back to what we're talking about, the hypocrisy in this Constitution, in these governments of America. It was not created for you. Yes, it is an open carry state if you're a white boy. But the chance, the second your skin is my complexion or darker, you lose that right. You don't have that same right. Especially if you were from an urban city, you don't have that right. Because you can be justified not to be murdered down for having a toy gun as a 12-year-old kid. Because the image, since forever in this country, has been that you've been a savage and a barbarian, a raper of their women, a murderer, a thief, a fool. This is the image that's been painted. And a lot of times we don't help them because we want to make it so bad, so the first chance we get, that's what we sing about, that's what we rap about. That's what we portray in the movies that we play. To that same narrative. Which so now, it justifies it to the world. So you can't get no sympathy, not just from the people inside of this country, not just white and other races, but black people are not going to give you no sympathy. Because you play into that narrative. People in other nations are not going to play into giving you some sympathy because you fulfill the narrative of being a savage and a barbarian. Now, we all know that's the contrary in most cases. But because what is seen on TV, the image that is seen on TV and in music and on social media plays into that narrative. It's been accepted. So now myth becomes reality because you've been bred to be that way. And so now we can justify murdering in cold blood a 12-year-old child in a state for having open carry laws. You know that Second Amendment right, the right to bear arms? But if you're black, you don't have the right to bear a toy arm. Let's go back to it.
They had no cause even to stop him, let alone open fire. Now, look, we've had pictures on the show. We'll have them for you in a second, too. White people, sometimes Latinos, carrying guns, assault rifles in Walmarts, wherever the hell they want. Nobody ever gets shot. Now, you got a 12-year-old with a toy gun here, but, ooh, he made the mistake of being black. So I'm going to show you the video one last time here. Look, he's shot in 2 seconds flat. And remember, it's an open carry state. If it was a real gun, he'd have every right to have that gun. Nonetheless, this is what they did to him. He's in a park where kids usually are. It's in Cleveland. They got a report. The 911 person knew that it could have been a toy gun. He didn't pass that along. She didn't pass that along, to be fair. Cops get there. Instead of pulling up on the street, they decide to pull right up to him. They didn't ask him any questions. They didn't say, is that a gun? Is that a toy gun? Hey, what's going on?
It's really disheartening when you watch that. Because that child wasn't given a chance. 2 grown men pull up. And like what he said, 2 seconds, shoot the boy. Before they can even get out the car, he already shot. And then had the nerve to both of them got the car with their guns drawn. Like they were in some type of harm. You ain't gonna never get no freedom, black man. Look what you let happen to your children. On public TV. You ain't gonna never have no freedom. You see something like that, man, you're supposed to tear this place up. You act a fool when somebody step on your shoe. You act a fool if somebody owe you $5 and they paid you back in a couple days. When your brother didn't pay you back $5, somebody step on your shoe in the club dancing You want to act a fool, you shoot the place up. But when people, police officers, this government destroys the fabric of our families, imprison our fathers, totally took our mothers out of the reality of being mothers, inculcated them in a system which teaches them to hate the black man, to be a part of a movement, the feminist movement, which was created on the basis of white supremacy, and then kill our babies. You don't do nothing. You don't do nothing. I'm saying at some point, the reason why you gotta realize you don't have no rights and you don't have no freedom, because you too much of a coward to do something about it. And you're a hypocrite. So the hypocrisy of America is based on the hypocrisy of you. Just be honest with yourself. You want to be a slave for the rest of your life. And you want to do your best to make sure your children be slaves. Stop fronting like you want freedom. Stop giving a bad name to those who us really want freedom. That's putting this information out with truth. Ain't asking for nothing in return. Ain't trying to get no donations. Just putting this information out and out there in the streets doing the work. Risking our lives. This type of talk will get you killed. But yet still, we still do it. For whoever, one or two people that it really will resonate with. This Arab boy, he ain't afraid to put it out there. He telling it like it is. But it ain't his job to do nothing about it. It's yours. It's ours. It's mine. Oh, Second Amendment gonna protect us. What? The same fathers that all own slaves. The same country that has a national anthem that was created by known racists and white supremacists. Versus Scott Key. What are you talking about? No, you gotta do something different. Well, I'm sovereign. But you still living in America. You still participating in this system. You still trying to come up any way you can. Trying to use their currency. Trying to use their influence. Trying to use all that stuff. Man, you the currency. You the wealth of this place. The day you stop putting your energy into this country, it ceased to exist. Start reading, start studying. You understand the real currency is the energy of the people. And that stuff you got in your wallets is just a fiat form of control. Because that's all it does is controls you. It keeps you in a cycle chasing something that don't exist. So you invest all your time and energy in getting that instead of building relationships with your brothers and sisters. Instead of building real bonds. So you focus on stocks and bonds, you ain't building the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood. Second Amendment said I got the right to bear arms. Form a militia. Yeah. And the second you do, they ready to kill you because you ain't doing it right. You still want to be a part of their system. You still want to be one of them. Let's go a little bit more on this. Then we're going to break this thing down. Close up.
Dropping. As one writer said, they did not give him an opportunity to live. 2 seconds flat. But I see white people with assault rifles everywhere. I see them in front of mosques. I see them trying to intimidate Black Lives Matter protesters. In fact, some of them shot Black Lives Matter protesters. I see white people who then use that gun, not only against the Black Lives Matter, but they go into Planned Parenthoods and kill people, including cops.
So, you just had a good point. Two things. You go out into them areas where them white boys got their guns, and you try to go in there and grab their guns, they'll tell you straight up, they'll kill you first before they let their guns. I'm not talking about no regular civilians. I'm talking about armed police officers. I'm talking about the U.S. government. I'm talking about the Army. I got a video, I ain't got time to look it up, but I had the link for you that you can go and see where they were literally gun for gun, man for man against the U.S. Army when they tried to come in there and take some of their land. And that the armed police forces had to retreat because they had the high ground. The militia. Because you told them they was free. And they acting like it. But they got the right to bear arms over you. So that's where they can walk in the Walmart, like he said, with assault rifles, 3-4 handguns, shotguns, tattoos all over their body and their neck. For those where the black men look scared because they got tattoos on them. We didn't even wear tattoos. That came from the white boy made that cool, all these crazy tattoos. We had cultural markings in Africa, but we didn't have these tattoos to just put anything on your body. They don't represent nothing. Your favorite song or a picture of some woman that you dated. It's not what we did. So we started replicating them, trying to fit in. And that same image gives the reasons or the excuses why they can shoot and murder you in cold blood. Modern day lynchings. Because you want to assimilate. But you're assimilating to your very demise. That's what you don't understand. Be not partakers of our sins. You can say the Bible what it is, but some things it's really literal. The more you want to be like that, you're going to fall like that. So, you can see the hypocrisy in it. You can see the straight up hypocrisy in it. But it's really not hypocrisy because they said from day one, we the people, when they first created the Constitution, from the preamble, they were talking about the white, wealthy landowners who were in that room. We the people in this room, not you niggas, not even they women, any other race of people. Us who are forming this government, we form a more perfect union. Some of us in this room who gonna control this country to its end. And our bloodline, our progeny gonna be in control. That's what it's about. It's about control over the souls of the men and women on this planet. That's what they deal in. And you willingly give your soul up. And you want to try everything but separate. Let's try to be Christians. Let's try to be this. Let's try to be that. Let's try to be a Muslim. Let's try. They don't never really start to understand the essence of what all those things mean. Let's be in the police force. Let's be in the army. Let's be the press. Let's be whatever we can possibly be to see if it works. See if we can get accepted. So we can end this oppression. It don't work. Let's try the Constitution. Let's try voting. Where'd it get you? Where'd it get you? You came out, put you all behind Barack Obama, didn't get you nowhere. Tamir Rice didn't get killed under the presidency of Bush or Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong, there's been a fair share of black men that did get killed under Bush, and there's probably going to be a lot more that get killed under Trump. But a lot of these deaths that we see today in the past 8 years that's been so public because of the social media and everything, it's been because, under the presidency of Barack Obama. So we see where your voting's got you. And even when you still voted, and they say you didn't vote this election, and that's why Trump got in, you still caught flack for it. You can't win for losing. Let's finish this last little part up. I just want you to see this one more part, then we're going to close out.
But no, you got rights. I got Second Amendment rights. Second Amendment rights. But you got a 12-year-old with a toy gun. He doesn't have any rights. He has the right to get murdered in 2 seconds flat, and then the cops get away with it. Okay, now, more details on Ohio's laws. Ohio, for instance, allows open carry without a permit virtually anywhere, with a major exception for keeping a gun in a car, which requires a concealed carry permit. Now,
so now in Ohio, you don't even, the open carry laws, you don't even have a permit on you to have your gun. Hear this out. You don't even have to have a permit on you to have your gun. That means anybody can walk around with their gun out, showing on their holster, showing on their arm, in their hand, and don't have to be subjugated to arrest or question, unless you black, unless you Tamir Rice, who can't play in the park by himself with a toy gun, and even though everything he sees on TV has guns. All the cool James Bond movies, all the cartoons from Looney Tunes, Elmer Fudd with the shotgun. You see the conditioning that we're doing to our children? So automatically he's gravitated to guns. The music. And then when he says on the commercials he can be all he can be, join the armed forces, what do you think they got in their hands? Guns. The police shows, guns. So he was probably out there imitating cops and robbers, and he was the cop. You gotta look at this a whole other way. The system is wicked and rotten. The system. So you gonna kill a boy for replicating everything that he sees on TV? And he ain't probably growing up in no bad household with no brothers in the gangs and nothing. He's seeing the good guys with the guns, supposedly. The supposed good guys. The police officers and the army soldiers and the heroes. The Marvel characters. The DC characters. The cartoons. So guns must be okay. Guns safe. America boasting and bragging about killing Gaddafi, killing Osama bin Laden. Guns good. Unless you're black. Because you don't have no rights. You never have and you never will. Not in this system. Gotta create your own. Let's get this finished.
Tamir Rice obviously not in a car. He can carry his toy gun anywhere, let alone a real gun. Well, he's not alone. John Crawford was also shot dead with a toy gun, also in Ohio. He was in a Walmart. Cops get a call. Now, yesterday on the program, I said they shot him and killed him in 6 seconds. That's true. You're about to see the video. It took 6 seconds for them to kill him. It took them 1 second to shoot him initially. Okay, they shot at him within 1 second. Now, remember, if this is a real gun, in Ohio, he has every right to carry it. And there's no one near him. It's not like there's other shoppers and he's pointing the gun at them or anything. And of course, it's not a real gun. It's a BB gun. All right, now watch the video. So there's Crawford. He picked up one that wasn't packaged. He's been lying around in that store for 2 years. He puts the gun down. They're shooting at him. He puts the gun down. Okay, the non-gun, by the way, the toy gun. He comes back. Hey, not necessarily to pick up the gun. Maybe the cop thought he was going to pick up the gun. But he didn't pick up the gun. He had his hands up. And it doesn't matter. Shot dead. Shot dead. You have every right to carry a gun openly in Ohio, unless you're black, in which case the cops will shoot at you within 1 to 2 seconds and murder you within at least 6 seconds. What happened? I thought everybody had...
Man, y'all better wake up, man. This stuff it's really disheartening, man. It really, really angers me and saddens me. You don't just get killed disproportionately, you get killed with impunity. You show them pictures of all the time white boys walking through these stores with guns. And I'm not trying to make this a race thing. I'm making this a reality thing. That's why white boys, when you see all these mass shootings, it ain't never brothers. It's white boys. For one, because they accepted with walking around with massive amounts of ammunition and guns, extended magazines, excessive rounds for mass murders. And the kid was playing with a gun that he found inside the store. That was out of the package. In an open carry state. And he got the police called him. Nobody from the store said, hey, you trying to buy that gun? You want to put that down? Or what? Nothing. He wasn't approached. So you scared of a man that you know didn't walk in with a gun because you got surveillance all over the place and on him. Picked up a gun that was already in there, so you know it was a BB gun. And you call the police on him? And they come in bloodthirsty. The vampire, they ready for blood. They gotta see it. They need they daily fix, they lynching. And on first sight, shot him. He trying to tell her, I already know, that's why I don't have the audio, because he know if you get audio, hey, this was already here. I'm not. No. Killed him. I ain't no more. It was a little more. You can watch the rest of the video. You can go to Young Turk's YouTube page. But the reality is that you don't have any laws. You don't have any rights here. And before I close down, I just want to talk about the 1857 Supreme Court case, Dred Scott versus Stanford. And anybody who ever talks to me, I always talk about this case because it is the very founding principle that America was not just founded on, but continues to perpetuate, continues to honor, respect, and live on code with. And in March 6, 1857, Chief Justice Roger Taney issued what is the widely regarded as the worst Supreme Court opinion ever. See how the wording is so, you got to understand the wording of this. The worst opinion. There wasn't no opinion, that's law. When the Supreme Court says something is law, they're the final say. It's not no opinion. You don't go to the Supreme Court to get their opinion. You go for them to get the final yay or nay. You go for them to be set in stone. Come on, wake up. He noted that the question before the court was whether African Americans are citizens of the United States and thus able to file a suit in federal court. His analysis of that issue is couched in objectively racist language. Quote, African Americans, which wasn't the term they used then, Negroes and niggers, had for more than a century before been regarded as being of inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic. Whatever a profit could be made by it. Hear that. Hear what he's saying. You don't have no rights that the white man was bound to respect or honor. So when they say they have open carry laws, when they have these rights and so-called amendments and constitution, that wasn't created. You don't have no rights in this system. And nobody's gonna ever respect you having the idea or even the inkling of thinking that you do have that right. The only thing they're gonna respect is if you create your own. When he came on those ships, not the ships you came on, the Santa Maria, and all the other slave ship Jesus. He came on the Santa Maria. You didn't come on that one. You came on the slave ships. His ships, he came over here to America to build a new world for him. He didn't have not one conception of even adding you into the equation, and he built this country with that reality. So when you became into the forefront, when you came into the fold of things, only thing he could see you as was a piece of merchandise to acquire the greater good for himself and his progeny, for the creation of what he wanted to establish. Not a place for you to have salvation, because you already were over here. You already had a world. You had a civilization. So he had to come with the help of us to systematically dismantle that so that he would have his perfect place. Because he understood Europe was barren, it was war-torn. It was already depleted of all the little resources that it had. He wasn't strong enough at that time to conquer Africa. He wasn't strong enough at that time to fully conquer Asia. So he came over into America and took full advantage of North America and South America. And that's why he has a world power that he has right now. He's not giving it up for nothing. So as pertinent and prevalent it was in 1857, what that Supreme Court justice said is just as real today in 2016 going to 2017. Understand what you're really up against and what you're really involved in. You're just merchandise. Rappers, athletes, entertainers, lawyers, doctors. Because you're not doing that for your own system. You're not doing that really for the whole, besides a few, for the betterment of the planet. Most cases, if you're a doctor, you're a drug pusher. Pushing drugs for the pharmaceutical companies. If you are lawyers, you upholding this evil, unjust system. If you a teacher and educator, you propagating misinformation. Not all people, but the most of us are. So, when you look at the Second Amendment, which is a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure or the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and to bear arms shall not be infringed. That means in the 1700s when it was created, 1791 when the Bill of Rights was created, or when it was ratified, because it was approved 1789. weren't added into the equation. So when it talked about a real regulated militia, it was talking about a group, a subgroup of white people that had the right to bear arms to keep enslaved their captives. The right to bear arms, and they should not be infringed on. That means the right to kill niggas, what they called them at that time. The slaves. Their merchandise, if they got unruly. That's what that was created for. Forget you wasn't human in 1791. So they couldn't have been talking about their rights for you. And so now in 2016, they understand that, but you don't. So when you try to possess that right, they kill and shoot you dead. Nigga, this wasn't for you. That's what they thinking and they saying. So they protect their police officers, which is a militia. A well-regulated militia. A group of thugs to enforce their unjust laws on the oppressed people of this country. Know what you into. Know what you're dealing with. If you ain't gonna redo this system, you ain't doing nothing. If you ain't gonna totally leave this system, you ain't doing nothing. You can't fix it from within. It's gotta be totally destroyed. I wanna thank everybody for watching this episode. Could have been doing anything else, but you decided to give us your attention, and I appreciate it. I want to thank all those viewers out there. Thank all my brothers and sisters who help support this. And we got another class coming forthcoming that we're going to really lay out a lot of this information. And we got some other big things coming up. I need to one day create a social media outlet, but I really can't get into that. But we'll see. I know I got to start getting this information out because it's really not pumped like it needs to be at the level that it should be. But I think I'm going to end it with that tonight. And I want to thank all the people who came before me, who paved the way and give me a platform to speak and an intelligent mind which to speak from. And so I thank you all. And until next time, leave you with the smooth sounds of our brothers, the Commodores. Peace and blessings. Good night.